It takes more than being in 130 Slack channels to be a great engineer. This is Soft Skills Engineering, episode 338. I'm your host, Dave Smith.
I'm your host, Jameson Dance.
Soft Skills Engineering is a weekly advice podcast about all the non-technical stuff that it takes to be a great software engineer, including managing all your Slack channels.
Did you count how many you were in?
No.
It sounds like a very exact number.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if it's bigger than that.
Yeah, because it depends on so many things. Are you in other organizations if you use it for work and for other things? And do you kind of like lurk in a bunch of channels, but you mute heavily, or I don't know. I feel like there are I'm trying to think of how many I pay attention to.
Right.
There are probably like 15 different channels I pay attention to during the workday, which is
kind of crazy,
many.
right? Like it's a
lot.
lot.
I say that. Yeah, that's too many.
I don't know how we got here.
We should all go back to email.
I know.
I feel like I've heard you talk about this before.
I have. My former coworker of mine said that the best way to describe Slack is, "Oh, I heard you like inboxes."
Yeah. Does that mean we've reached grumpy old man status? There's a newfangled Slack thing.
Yeah, totally.
All right. I want to thank our patrons. Thank you to the folks who contribute to the show financially at the level where we shout them out every single week. Thank you to Valentin at Datafold, Santa Hopar, Noah Fraser Loeb, Kent C. Dodds, Memester Josh, Jenny Kim, Owen Shardle, Craig Montland, I Love Mavis, The Stochastic Parrot, Alice Jost, Landfair Will I Give Up, Go, 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 Coshocton, Ohio, patreon.com.au, We're Hiring, Ira Chan, Monkey Face Emoji, Jonathan King, testingisdocumenting.org, Oladapo Fadier, Will Angel, Gnarar, Nick Hathaway, Travis Sanders, Braden Keynes, John Grant, Compilator with a K.se, Cody Sale, Nick Cantar. Did I say Nick Cantar twice?
Well, that's how grateful we are, if you did.
We have two Nicks. They're different Nicks. Philip John Basile. Thank you so much. Thank you to these kind and generous people. If you would like to join this group, you can go to softskills.audio and click support us on Patreon. And then any dollar amount will get you an invite to our Slack team. And any sufficient dollar amount will get you added to this list of folks that we thank profusely before every episode. Etched in the annals of history.
That's true.
It is possible that 1,000 years from now, these names will represent a significant percentage of what historians know about this time period. So join now.
If you want to leave your mark on history.
Yeah. All knowledge except the archive of soft skills engineering has been wiped out for some weird reason.
This sounds like a dystopian Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure variant.
Yeah. Good thing we're etching these into titanium plates.
Yeah.
And then putting them in orbit around the Earth.
Right.
Do you want to read our first question, Dave?
Yes, this comes from a listener named Mattoosh, who says, I am the last remaining support specialist on a really old, not actively maintained, but still lucrative SaaS product. I am stuck. As a front-end engineer, I want to work on other projects within my organization to gain contemporary framework skills, but nobody can backfill my workload. I know option A is quit your job, but what other options do I have? I like option A. Look, I already know the very first thing I should do. Quit my job.
Okay. I want to summarize this question. Help. I have an enormous amount of leverage over my company. What do I do?
That's a really good way to put it. I am the only person in the whole company who can do what I do.
Usually the only time you have leverage is when when they're trying to hire you.
Right.
Or not the only time. You know what I mean.
That is the highest leverage moment in your tenure with any company, is when they have not yet hired you and they want to hire you. So you're saying, look, I understand you're not getting the professional development that you want. You're not using the technical skills that you want to use or grow. But why not console yourself by asking your company for a lot more money?
It could be that. Yeah. It could also be, there are other ways to compensate you or reward that leverage besides money.
Yeah.
You could say you need to rewrite it all and then, like, pick the thing you want to learn as a way to forever tarnish the reputation of developers
Yes.
in this area in the future. Like, no, never again will they trust a developer. You could, I'm trying to think of things that make this better for the company. Like, if you quit, they're going to have to train someone anyways, but they don't have to yet because you still work there. So
Yeah.
like, why would they now? Just because you say, please.
Are you saying you have to threaten to leave to get any motion here?
Maybe. I don't know if I'm trying to figure out what I'm saying by saying it in real time.
Nice.
That's
I can't see any problem with that. Let's proceed.
You're kind of in like an impasse because it's going to cost the company more money to change anything, right? Like,
yes.
Either to swap someone else out with you because you quit, or because you want to move on to a different role and they need to train someone up into your place.
Right.
So like, you do have a lot of leverage because there's a lot of money tied to this SaaS product, but also I don't see an option that is better for your company besides like wait for something to change.
Like, the best option for your company is you just keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
Don't do anything different. We're gonna just keep using you. You're so great. We love you.
Is there anything we could do besides changing anything?
Right.
Any words that we could say?
No, actually, quite frankly, giving you a big fat pay raise would actually probably be the easiest thing for this company to do. Like, on all the list of things to do, like training a replacement, that's the whole list I can think
It's way cheaper than training a replacement.
Yeah. We'll give you a 20% raise. You'll be happy. We'll continue to be happy. And there's probably an amount of money that this company would pay to make this problem go away, by which I mean this problem being having to go find someone to train and do this. Because also, finding your replacement is going to be very hard for them. Like, imagine what it would take to get someone who has never worked in this code base, who doesn't want to work in this old legacy, non-interesting code base, and ask them to be the support engineer. That's going to take a considerable amount of money. They might have to go to consulting rates for that. They could be looking at $200 an hour to support this thing.
Yeah.
With that as your backdrop, I think you can definitely. I mean, that's some good leverage, because that's what they're competing against, and I think they know that they have a massive bargain in you. And I'm making some assumptions here, but they probably know that better than you do.
I feel like the way we're talking about this question reveals something about our worldview, because the question asker said, how do I change to do this other kind of work that I think will be more fulfilling?
Yeah, and we're like, you just need more money.
But money, yeah. What if you instead got more money to do the same work that isn't fulfilling?
Yeah, I know you asked for more fulfilling work and better technical skills, but look, money solves everything.
If you have nicer shoes while you're doing the less fulfilling work, won't that be the same?
Okay, let's set the money topic aside for the moment. I just thought it was an interesting observation that sounds like this question asker may not have considered, and I think a lot of people don't consider how much leverage they have over their employer when they are in an indispensable situation like this.
Yeah.
So, okay, so if it's okay with you, Jameson, let's set that aside. The money part.
It's okay with me.
Like, it's very, very hard for you to do, I know. But
well, I can set aside talking about money. I just can't set aside the money.
Okay.
I will keep the money close at hand, but talk about other stuff.
Okay. I'm thinking here that the way to approach this question with your company about, hey, how do I get into greener pastures and work on skills that I actually want, is to frame this as a existential risk to this product, because your company has what do we call it? A lottery factor. That's really, really easy to trigger here, because they have one person who knows this. And so this is a business risk that they have taken on and maybe don't fully recognize the risk. And so rather than going to your company and saying, hey, I'm going to quit unless you let me advance my career in these ways with these other skills, you could go to them and say, I believe we have a business risk that is too high to maintain this product offering for our customers. And I'd like to propose that we cross-train someone on this product and we share the support load between the two of us, so that A, we have better support capacity. B, we have redundancy in case of, lottery factor stuff. Or C, there is no C. Sorry, I thought there was, but there's not.
Think of a C. We'll leave that to you.
Yeah, that's an exercise left to the listener.
It always sounds better if there are 3 things.
It does.
Two things.
Right. Rhetorically, it's very important that there are a list of 3.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. That's a way of reducing risk for the company. I also think there's you could also talk about it as like reducing the cost of support. Maybe that means more documentation. Like there could be some upfront investment work that you put into this product to make it easier for others to pick up.
Or even easier for customers to self-serve the support.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you can make it cheap enough to support, then presumably that means there's other more valuable work you could do instead. Like you could, one case is that you do such a good job that they don't need you anymore, which is not great.
Right. A little risky.
Good news. You'll get to go find more fulfilling work.
Also at risk. Yeah.
But also there's probably other important stuff to do. Most companies have lots of things that they would like to do that they cannot get to. So if you can make the cost of supporting this product low enough in time or I don't know, in specialized skill set, then there's now somewhere more effective where your time could be spent. Does that make sense?
Totally. Higher value activities. So there is opportunity cost for the business to keep you in this role, which is that you can't be doing more valuable things to the business.
Like learning new frameworks.
Right. Like think about how valuable it will be to you if I spent several months learning Elm.
Yeah. There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a Haskell equivalent of a front-end framework. That's as close as I can get.
PureScript. But Buckle script, I think, is somehow related to PureScript in a way I don't understand. And then what's the other one? Reason ML.
Oh, yeah.
Those are all the MLE type languages I think I am aware of in the front end.
You just proved your credentials. Good job.
Thank you.
I feel like you nailed it.
Have we answered the question?
I think so. Like, A, you've got a lot of leverage if you want more money. B, and remember, there's going to be 3 here, so I'm working on getting the third one as I talk. You could make more money if you wanted to. B, you can couch this as a business risk that the company needs to mitigate. And C, again, exercise for the listener, but I'm sure you'll come up with a good one.
Yeah.
I actually know C, but I'm not revealing it because it's a pedagogical technique where you have to figure it out. And you'll be better off.
I mean, what if the C they come up with is way better than yours? You don't want to.
I mean, that's unlikely. The C that I'm thinking of is really good. I'm not thinking of a C. I don't have anything. All right. You want to read our next one?
The secret is revealed. Yes. Now we'll read our next question. This is from an anonymous listener who says, I started my journey as an engineering manager at a startup. Over my stint, the company grew and so did the engineering team. Overall, I received good feedback from the engineers, but the founders didn't recognize the value of this role, and I felt that I wasn't getting the required mentorship there to grow further. I ended up quitting. It's been challenging to find another manager role. I get good feedback from the interviews, but haven't received an offer yet. I still am a good backend engineer, but that is not what I want to keep pursuing. I appreciate any thoughts or suggestions on what I should do to bag one of these interviews, as I don't get that feedback from the interview panel. I don't miss any of the podcasts and do enjoy the show.
Nice.
Well, that's one piece of advice we can't give them. Don't miss any of Listen to every episode. Surely something in there.
We make no guarantee, express or implied, about the outcomes of listening to the show, though.
Throw this incredible amount of spaghetti at the wall. Even more spaghetti. I'm glad you listened and enjoyed. Thank you. That's nice of you to say.
Let's see. Engineering manager roles. This is a tough time for that, just economically. I think that if any role gets squeezed to do more with less, it's management. When when a company is,
I feel like there are a bunch of roles who are like, wait a minute, my role gets squeezed more to do with less. But
I'm sure you're right.
I think I see your point. Yeah, it's like
here's my point. It's like if I'm a super hyper growth startup that's just hiring like crazy, I'm also going to hire a bunch of managers in that same time frame. I might even hire ahead of time, just so but only if money is abundant and growth is an imperative. Whereas if I am a company the budget is being squeezed and money is a little tight, and I'm thinking, well, I've got an engineering manager who currently manages 8 people. I need to hire 2 more. I'm sure they can just do 10.
Yeah.
It's like and maybe 11 and maybe 12. It's like, and so
or even like if you have an engineering manager who quits, it can be tempting to say, well, what if we just like smush teams together instead of replace them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you can manage 17 people, right?
That's what Mr. Musk said.
It is very tempting to do that because I think a lot of times the effect of hiring less management is a little bit intangible and a little bit hidden from the people making that decision. Every individual team member's professional growth and experience at work gets a little worse. But the bug rate in the product might not change, the economics of your product might not change that much, but everyone's just a little bit unhappy, So
things are like a little more chaotic.
Yeah, and you're like, well, that's the trade-off we chose. We chose a little more chaos, Yeah. And there can be good reasons for choosing that, right? So I guess what I'm saying here is jumping from an engineering manager role at one company to an engineering manager role at another company is probably one of the more challenging hires or challenging roles to get as a job seeker, I think, as compared to like back-end engineer, front-end engineers. Like, great, we need one of those, we'll hire you, Yeah.
I feel like you switched points there from economics to like, in general, it's harder to get another engineering manager job.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's strictly harder in general to get an engineering management job. There are certainly fewer of them, just mathematically, fewer of those positions open at any given moment. But right now, for sure, in the current economic situation, I think it is harder.
Even in the before times when interviewing for those roles, both for my own sake to get one of them and also interviewing to hire an engineering manager, I feel like I've done a lot more interviews.
Like the ratio of candidates to hires?
Yeah, the ratio of, it's higher. Yes.
Would you say it's like twice as high, 5 times as high, 1,000 times as high?
No, I would not say any of those because I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's more times as high.
Okay, got it.
I don't know. It felt like maybe like 5. We had a really long search for one candidate, but so that might be an outlier. Yeah, so it might just be it takes more interviews, it takes more tries to land this role.
Yeah,
I also think there's a bigger emphasis on fitting in with the company style, culture, I don't know, structure.
Yeah,
where I think it is generally easier to hire. I guess you said this earlier. It's easier to hire a developer and say you might have different experiences, but like your skills will transfer fine.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
you could have.
They solved the whiteboard puzzle, so they're qualified.
Yeah,
it's like a little more concrete.
Yeah, but the breadth of problems and philosophies to solving those problems in engineering management and like the orthodoxy is just so poorly established. Like there's just so many different ways people think about doing it that I don't know. I feel like it's easier to show up and say, here's how I think management should work and see a lot of like people recoiling in horror and saying, what?
Yeah.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah, I agree. And the way that I would summarize that is that it's a little more fuzzy about what makes a good engineering manager. And you, like you said, you just kind of have to click with people in the interview sometimes. And that's a much harder roll of the dice than, oh, look, I implemented iterative Fibonacci in linear time with memoization. Therefore, hire me,
Yeah.
It's harder. It's
like I communicated well about my code while I did it. So you think I will be able to solve hard problems well.
I think another way to put that is if you thought the software engineering interview process was unreliable, non-deterministic, and inconsistent, well, boy, have I got some news for you. And like, I think the point that we're trying to make here is that it's not unexpected for you to get into a situation where it's challenging to find your next role. That's pretty normal. So what do you do about it though? And to me, the best engineering manager candidates that I have interviewed have a very crisp management philosophy and very concrete tenets about how they approach a wide variety of different problems. You know, like I've been asked in management interviews, what's your philosophy on performance management? And, you know, it's like, oh, I don't know. I guess I just, you know, like help people perform good. You know, it's like, that's one answer, right? Or you could have a very crisp answer where you, based on experience, where you can actually cite examples of times you've helped people improve their performance, or that you've had to manage someone out of an organization, right? Like and I think that it's harder to have those answers off the top of your head because it's not something you work in every day. Like it may have been 6 months to 12 months since the last time you encountered a performance challenge as a manager. And there's no leak code website where it's like, okay, situation, you know, solve this problem. And then you have to type out an answer. Although you could probably build a chat GPT variant that would actually interview you for a management role and assess you based on what you type in your answer, which would be really cool. Anyway, so that my advice to you is make sure that you have a portfolio of answers at the ready for common management questions, such as, what's your philosophy on performance management? What's your philosophy on compensation? What's your philosophy on team organization? What's your philosophy on how to work best with product management? What's your philosophy on working across teams and building consensus? What's your philosophy on you being the tech lead versus having a dedicated tech lead on the team? You know, like, these are all things that you should have an at-the-ready, very succinct, crisp answer for, and I think you'll do better in the interviews. Now, that's not to say you'll get the job, because again, your philosophy might not actually align with the company's philosophy, at which point you won't get the job, but at least you'll have a crisp answer so that when you do find the company that aligns well, you're ready to go.
They might not even have one, too. But
they might not, and that's one of the reasons I say have a concrete answer, because sometimes what a company is looking for is someone who has a clear framework for operating as a manager that they can articulate to the interviewer. They're like, oh, this is great. Our current managers just kind of wring their hands and are indecisive and don't know what their own philosophy is. But if we hire this person,
they just kind of do stuff.
Yeah. So
I love that answer. That is also, I feel like I get better at interviews as a candidate throughout the process. But I felt like that applied more to engineering manager interviews than to IC interviews, because I did feel like the IC interviews were closer to the day-to-day skills that I used.
Right.
But yeah, that aspect of like articulating your worldview concisely in a compelling way is not, you're not going to like sit down in a one-on-one with someone every week and say, let me tell you about my philosophy of management. It just feels like very pompous.
It's like this, there's almost like this behind the scenes framework that you're operating in that you don't even know you're operating in because you've never had to say it out loud.
But that's a great way to think about it.
For me,
or you're good at this better than I am, and like you start with that and work towards it. But for me, it's been very like, it's been a lot of archaeology, like looking at what I do and then figuring out, oh, that's right. That's why.
It's like internal self-centered, self-focused psychological archaeology. You're digging through your own brain, trying to understand why you do what you do.
Yes.
I'll tell you, Jameson, that as a manager of managers, this has come into more focus for me because now I'm having to coach people to do their management job. And so it's a forcing function to make me say out loud what my philosophy is. Whereas previously I was just like, oh, yeah, I guess I don't know why I ran stand-up that way. Let me write a blog post about this, you know? And this might be a good thing for you to do is practice writing a blog post each day where you delve into one of the philosophies of management. And if you're looking for inspiration, there is a great book that I don't think I've mentioned on the show before, but I have mentioned in our Slack community, which is a book by Will Larson. I'll put it on the screen for our YouTube viewers. It's called An Elegant Puzzle, Systems of Engineering Management. Really, really good, crisp book. It's like a user's manual for engineering managers. You know, it's got sections on all the things I just mentioned, like mentorship and performance management and organizational structure.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, in the least amount of words, describe how this person does that. And I've really liked it because it almost reads like an appliance repair manual, where it's like, if you're in this situation, here are the 3 things I do. Bum, bum, bum. I'm like, oh, nice. Anyway, highly recommended if you're trying to find inspiration to get crisp about your own philosophy.
I second that recommendation. It's a great book. Will has another book about staff engineer. It's a similar
that's him?
attempt to kind of, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Distill this kind of fuzzy, ill-defined thing into some concrete specifics.
Oh, that's great. I knew about that book. I just didn't realize it was the same author. I got to get that.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool.
The staff engineer is more based on interviews with other folks, where An Elegant Puzzle is more, I think, his own experience and ideas. But there's still, same style, same vibe.
That's really cool. Really cool.
Have we answered it?
I think so. Should we summarize with our rhetorical bullet points of 3 that are only actually 2?
Oh, yeah. I was going to offer this one point of feedback, which is when you were saying all the things you should have a philosophy of, there were way more than 3. And I just ignored all of them after the third one.
because I blasted past the 3 ceiling.
Yeah, I was like, 1, 2, 3. What? And then my expectations were shattered.
Sorry.
It's okay. They were all good suggestions, I'm sure. If I as I listen back to this, I'll realize I'll skip the first 3 and then count by multiples of 3. So I'll hear the next 3 next time I listen to this.
Okay, good.
Do you want to summarize it?
Yeah, I'll summarize. So I think the first thing is it's normal for there to be a higher ratio or a higher failure rate for management interviews, I think, as a candidate. So that's first thing, is that you are experiencing something that I believe is normal. Sub-bullet on that one is that this particular moment in time, I believe, will be even more challenging and even a higher failure rate. Yeah. And then the second point is get really concrete about what your answers are to these kinds of questions, so that when you find the company that wants your philosophy, you've clearly articulated it. Do some psychological archaeology.
Yes. And the third one?
Again, exercise to the reader, or I forgot. Take your pick.
Yeah, reader's choice. All right. What should folks do if they want to get their own questions answered?
Go to softskills.audio and click the Ask a Question button, where you can fill out our form with as much or as little information as you want. And we must, as always, give a heartfelt thank you to everyone who fills out that form each week. We love it. We read all of your questions, and you keep the show going. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll catch you next week.